How are you doing today, PrepperLink? Today we're going to be going over packaging food items, food storage items with some different methods here. There's a lot of options that you can have, and I primarily rely on vacuum bags and Mylar bags, and also using mason jars for storage of foods that I need to have access to. Alright, and we're going to go over that real quick. So for most of us that have the vacuum sealers, or if you're interested in getting one, they're great. I primarily use 3 different bag sizes. A 6x10 bag. This is what is enough room to store most food, 1 pound of vegetables for my family. You could probably put about 2 pounds of dehydrated vegetables in here if you wanted to. The next size is an 8x12 bag, just in case I need a little bit more storage space, or packing the dinners in the jar meals. I use a 8x12 bag for those. This is 1 pound of vegetables in a 6x10 bag, just to give you a little size perspective. And then you also have much larger bags. This is a 11x16 bag. I put fish in here when I'm taking them for guys that I work with. It's just a good all-around large bag. You can also put roast in here and put them in your freezer. The key to vacuum bags is the Food Saver brand is very expensive. You're looking at 30 to 40 to 60 cents a bag. Whereas if you went with the Weston bags, and they are packaged like this, you can buy them on Amazon. You're getting 100 bags here for about 20 bucks. So this is a lot better price, and we'll have to check the price on Amazon. But it's about 20 bucks for 100. For Food Saver, you're going to be paying a significantly amount more money for the bags. All right. So that's the vacuum bags. The next step of my system is Mylar bags, and I like to use the gallon-sized bags to put several 1 pound equivalents in, and we'll open up one here in a second. And I've been experimenting with these 8x8 Mylar bags for to replace these 6x10 bags, because eventually everything in my system goes into Mylar. The vacuum bags are great at removing the oxygen. You can still see I have an oxygen absorber in there, but that only gets you part of the way. You also need to put it in Mylar or in a 5-gallon bucket or some type of system so that you can make sure that the light gets off of your product. So I eventually go to Mylar anyways, so I'm trying to experiment with these 8x8 Mylar bags to see if they're going to work out. And they're just as durable. The problem is you really can't use a vacuum sealer with them, but there's a way around it. If you're going to use Mylar, I would recommend getting an iron. It is rather expensive. These are about 100 bucks. But it's a lot easier to use this in a hair straightener or even an iron. So I would recommend these clamps. They're very quick, and if you're using a 5-gallon Mylar bag or whatnot, it's a lot easier to use this device than it would be to use a hair iron or an actual iron. Okay, so to give you an example of what I was talking about packaging, this is what I call my support packs. And this would supplement a meals in the jar if I wanted to, but it has 4 different types of vegetables in here, 4 1 pound equivalents. It's in a 1-gallon Mylar bag, and we'll open them up so we can see them. And these were packaged on November or December of last year, so these have been in here a little bit, and I like to come in and just make sure everything's okay every now and then anyways. So once I open the bag up, we have green beans in here. There's some bell peppers, some broccoli, and when I'm opening these up, I'm still seeing if the bags are tight, in which case they are. If they're tight, that means that no air has gotten into here. So just keep cautious of that. Pay attention to that. Here's 1 pound of equivalent of corn and 1 pound of sweet peas. All right. So I had a bonus little bell pepper pack in here as well. But right here we have 4 pounds equivalent of vegetables. Okay, so again, these are 1 pound packages. There's 4 of them, 4 pound equivalent. And the way that I package them is every day that I need my vegetables, instead of going to a very large bucket of, sweet peas or whatever, everything's individually packed. There's no cross-contamination if one of these is to open and spoil, and I can manage it. So if I have 100 of these, I know I have at least 100 days worth of vegetables stored. Also, that doesn't mean that you have to eat those 4 pounds a day, especially if you're using the dinners in the jar meal. I wouldn't really see that I need to eat 4 of these a day. So you can just rotate a system, and when I package them, I put them in usually 4 different types to a bag, and that's just to give me some variety throughout the week. All right, so now let me clean up this mess real quick. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and then this is for permanent storage, the system right here. But what about for intermediate storage? And what I mean by that is, what if I need to make a recipe, or I'm going to cook with these food items throughout the week right now, pre-disaster. A lot of people don't think about that. What do I do now? And we need to have access to these foods. It wouldn't make sense for me to package up, this bag's going to run me about 10, 20 cents depending on how I purchase them, and open it up every time that I need it. They can be reused, but there's a much better way of packaging your foods for short-term storage, and still having the vacuum sealer capability to remove the oxygen. You can use these mason jars, and this is a half-gallon mason jar with a wide mouth on the top, and I will use these to store items before they go into the recipes. So to do that, what you need to have is the mason jar and the lid. Really, the ring for the system is irrelevant. You don't need to have this on here. I still keep it on here so that I don't lose them. You need to have a Food Saver jar sealer, and this is the wide jar version. They also have the regular jar version. Has a place for an accessory port on the top attachment, and here's the accessory attachment, and you just plug this into here, and then you also plug the other end into your Food Saver or vacuum sealer accessory ports, and that goes in right here. All right, so let's open this up. This one's been locked down quite a while. This is some onions that I did probably over a year ago. You can still see they're full of color and they're nice. The cool thing about this system is whenever you use this vacuum sealer attachment, and don't ask me how it works, I just know it works, but it locks this lid down on here. So when you open it, you'll hear the air rush out. All right, hopefully you saw that, heard it. All right, and you can still see that there are onions in here, and they're crushing in my hands, all right, pretty easily. So that means that they're still crisp from the dehydration process, and there's not a lot of moisture that's soaked back into them. All right, so to use this attachment, whenever handling your long-term storage food items, especially dehydrated vegetables and beans and things like that, dried products, always wear gloves to keep oils from transferring from your hands back onto the foods. So to use this attachment, all you do is clean off the ring of your lid, make sure there's nothing on it, clean off the mouth of your jar, all right, and then you just set the lid back on there. Then you get your vacuum sealer jar attachment sealer and just press it down on there. That's all you have to do. And then for your vacuum sealer, all you do is hit canister button if you have one, and then it's going to take the air out of the jar. All right, after it's completed, the best way to remove it is to just pull out the hose attachment, and then you can just lift this off. To inspect it, all you look and make sure it's concaved, it's sucked down into the jar a little bit. You can tap it. You can also hold it upside down. You can see that's not going anywhere. So this is already sealed, and this one's probably been sealed for over a year, so it works. But there's nothing wrong with going to your wherever you have these and just make sure that it sounds solid. Periodically. Then all I do is take the lid and put it back on here. Again, it's not really helping with this process. It's just so I don't lose the lids and they're out of the way. And then that's done. And I have about 20 of these stored up under my island over here of various different types of dehydrated vegetables. Also things like onions and garlic, flour, powdered milk, things like that. Here's some tomatoes that I've done quite a bit ago. You can still see that they're full of color. And here's some bell peppers. And the equivalent of this is probably 20 to 30 pounds of bell peppers equivalent dehydrated. So just to give you a little size perspective if you're going to get into dehydrating these foods. And this is probably 6 to 8 slices per tomato. So we're looking at about 10 to 15 tomatoes in here. So but that's how I package my food storage items. Again, this isn't meant for long-term storage, and the main reason is you are achieving no moisture on here, no oxygen in here. But the big thing here is that the jars, they're not light resistant, so the UV rays and the light will start decreasing the quality of your food. So for intermediate term storage, before they go into a recipe or you're going to cook with them daily, this is a great solution. But for long-term storage, I'd recommend the vacuum bags. Again, this is dinner in the jar meal. Inside of a Mylar bag to add that added level of protection, and also to reflect the light off of it. So I would then seal this up, and I usually put 2 dinner in the jars per bag. All right, please let me know if you have any questions.